Take two. How's everybody doing tonight? Welcome to JaKKed Live. Not sure what just happened there, but we lost connection for some reason. And welcome back. For those of you that were on here before, please feel free to jump on here, share with your friends, tell us who you are and where you're from tonight, and we'll kind of get started here in just a minute. Kevin, if you're around, jump back on here and say hey. Guys, if you're just joining us, go ahead and tell us where you're from and whatnot, and we will get started here in just a second. My name's Tom Lloyd. I own JaKKed Baits, and we are out of Springfield, Missouri. Been in business for several years now, and what's going on, Kevin Altman? So we are gonna see what happened there. Again. So anyway, we have been around for about 4 years now. Just trying to get her rolling and
what's up, boss
get
man?
going here, guys. What's going on, Mr. Kevin? How the heck are you?
Doing well, buddy. And yourself?
Oh, pretty good.
Good.
Trying to get this set up. I'm not sure what happened there.
Yeah, I could see me, but I couldn't see you.
Gotcha. It just Facebook app just totally dropped. So I don't know what happened. Guys, like I said, welcome to JaKKed Live. As you're getting in here, go ahead and share this with your friends. And then also put in the comments where you guys are from and what's your favorite lake to be fishing this time of the year. And we'll kind of get started with that. So how you doing, Mr. Kevin?
I'm doing well. How you doing yourself tonight?
Oh, pretty good. I like that jacked up back shirt you got on, sporting our fire, EMS, and police.
Always. My daughter wears one 3 days a week, probably.
I hear you. That is awesome. So what you got going on? Where's your next tournament?
Lake Norman. Actually,
Norman.
the next 2 weeks. I have a club tournament this Saturday, putting out of Little Creek Access, and then we'll have the CBC North Carolina Division tournament out of Pinnacle Access, which is a little bit further up the lake.
Awesome.
As soon as I get this cast off, anyway. What did Jeff Clark say?
Jeff said he was from Clowntown, Alabama.
Yes, he is. Who
That's
knows?
right.
I may have to move to Alabama, so I may have to join him.
Yeah. New favorite lake's Gunnersville right now, Mr. Darrell Williams says.
Yeah. Micah. I was born by a Tennessee fan, Micah. I bleed orange.
There you go.
Welcome, Mr. Johnson. Nice to see you, brother. We've been praying for you.
Who was that?
Addison.
Oh, okay.
Curtis Lell's
Yes,
watching us, Tom. Curtis Lell is one of my fishing buddies here in North Carolina. So he's with us tonight. I see that he joined. Welcome, Curtis.
Good deal. What's going on, Mr. Robert? Robert Stevens, how you doing? Coomer, you're right. This is going to be a great show tonight. We're going to have some fun. We've had some great guests over the past couple weeks, and we appreciate all those guys. I thought it was time for a JaKKed Live, jacked up style, just chitty chat a little bit, answer your guys' questions. Anything's fair game tonight for Kevin or myself, and we're going to let you guys just blast them away. So feel free to get in there and get started asking questions. Addison's already asking what's our favorite rod, all that good stuff. But we're gonna have fun and let you guys just get after it tonight. So get the questions rolling in.
They're already started. Trust me. Now
they're already started.
I'm being accused of having hearing aids in. So yeah,
Lord.
I am the grandfather of this clown crew. So, but no, they're not hearing aids. They're actually earbuds, so that I can hear you better and you can hear me.
There you go. Had a quick question in there about the JaKKed of the month, or I'm sorry, the JaKKed in a Box monthly subscription. Yes, Robert Stevens, We'll get into that here after a while a little bit. But yes, it is a monthly subscription. So um, jump on that, and it'll be awesome. One of our newest members,
Yep.
Miss Thompson, jumped on. What's going on? Danny, how you doing, buddy? Kevin, what's going on? Brad, we will get to that tonight as well. But
Yes,
make sure you guys
yes.
share. Again, put where you're from in the comment section as you're asking your questions, and we'll go ahead and get started, man. What you got for us tonight, Mr. Kevin?
Well, tonight we're going to do something a little bit different, guys. We're going to start out, and we're going to actually, like Tom normally does, he normally discusses and interviews and talks with some of our, whether it be our elite FLW Tour, Costa event anglers. Or tonight we're going to interview Tom Lloyd. So we're going to find out some things, not necessarily about Tom, but we're going to interview Tom and find out a little bit about JaKKed Baits. So, Tom, why don't you, first of all, tell everyone exactly how did JaKKed Baits begin? How did it originate? Where you're located, so forth and so on.
All right, man. Well, I am from St. Louis, Missouri. Moved down to Springfield, go to school. Moved down to Springfield. Really, the biggest thing that drew me down here was from St. Louis, the closest lake that's really fishable is Lake of the Ozarks, and it's about 2.5 hours away. Down in southwest Missouri, Springfield, I can be at 9 lakes within 2.5 hours. So that's a huge, huge difference there as to for an avid outdoorsman, fisherman like myself. That was a big draw for us. So moved down here, started fishing a bunch of tournaments in college and whatnot, and realized there was some things out there that I liked throwing. But I also realized there were some things I didn't like, and there was a lot of opportunity to change some things up and kind of do it my way, so to speak. So, like a lot of people, you start out pouring lead in your garage and monkeying around with that, and just trying to do something a little different, make a bait, improve something that's already out there, maybe, and that's how we started. So, getting into that and trying to use the very best components, use the very best, paint on everything, use the best hooks, use the best shapes and sizes of different baits. And that's really how it got started. So I started making them for myself. Of course, shared those with my fishing buddies. They started wanting more and more of them. And so me being entrepreneurial, my father was an entrepreneur, always has been, and my grandfather as well. So just having that little gene in my system, I decided that, hey, if this many people want this product that I'm making, maybe we should start selling it. So it kind of just spawned from there, and just a buddy told a buddy, and here we are.
Well, I'm going to tell everybody here live tonight. Just this past weekend, we were in just outside of Nashville, Tennessee. We were actually in Lebanon, Tennessee, at a show, and so everybody knows Mr. Lloyd has a new nickname, and he's called the FOF, or the face of the franchise. So everybody keep that in mind. But we also tell us a little bit about the BOF, the brains of the franchise as well. We haven't mentioned her yet.
The brains of the franchise. There's no understatement there. My wife is a freaking trooper. She has been by our side in this whole little adventure we call JaKKed Baits. And it's we couldn't do it without her. She helps on the back end a lot. I also travel around for work a lot of times. And so while I'm gone, she is not only the brains, but she's the face at that point to a lot of our team
Right.
and whatnot. And it's definitely something where you couldn't do this by yourself, and definitely can't do it without her. She proves her worth more and more every day. So.
Well, I think we all see that as tournament anglers. All of us that are married, even yourself, Tom, there's always someone there behind us that supports us, and that's usually our wives or our girlfriends. And you see that common. You even see it on the Elite Tour. You also see it on, any of the other tours when they interview the guys. One of the things they always say is, their backbone being their family, their wives or girlfriends and so forth. And, we couldn't do it by ourselves. You couldn't do JaKKed Baits by yourself.
Right.
So I know that I know Allison's involvement is crucial and vital to our success here at JaKKed Baits.
That's right.
Tell us a little bit about what the mission of JaKKed Baits is.
Well, since we started, I believe in doing things once and doing it right once. And like I said before, I started with quality components, started with the best paint I could find. So our mission is to make the very best product out there, from start to finish, from that being the creation of the mold, the design of the product, all the way through the entire process, having the best packaging out there. That doesn't mean anything as far as catching fish, but the fact of the matter is when you're standing in Bass Pro or, looking on Tackle Warehouse, if the product doesn't look good, you're not going to buy it. And that to us is more important than anything. Beyond that, making those products that are going to A, catch fish, and B, last. There's a lot of companies out there, and there's not one I can name specifically, but a lot of them will make a bait and not necessarily care too much about whether it gets hung up or not because they're just going to sell more baits. To me, I make a paint that lasts on the product, because I want you to continue fishing with that bait. The more time you have that bait in the water in productive areas, the more times you have confidence in that bait, the more hookups you're going to get, period. So I believe that we are a company made up of tournament fishermen, surrounding ourselves with tournament fishermen, but also there for your everyday guy who wants to just go fish once or twice a year or 10 times a year. And, that's really what we're about, trying to educate our customers as well as making a better product every day. And that's something that we're never going to stop doing, guys. You will not find us a complacent company ever in anything that we do. And I find that to be crucial in everything that we do, is to continue to grow and continue to figure out what we are able to do better, no matter how good it was. We had a great show in St. Louis, in Collinsville, Illinois, and I still came away from that. I was talking to my father about it, like I mentioned, entrepreneur, and I said, what could we have done better? And, he said, well, why are you focused on what you could do better? You had a fantastic show. I said, because we didn't do everything exactly the way I wanted it done, and we didn't do it perfect. And until there's no perfection in life, but until we come to what we believe is close to perfection, we're never going to stop.
Yeah.
And that just means quality baits and quality components for you guys to use from now until forever. So.
Yeah, well, you and I talk about that a lot, and I believe that to be true not only in JaKKed Baits, but I believe that to be in anything that anyone does in life, whether it be being the trash guy, being the CEO of a company, or anything in between. There's always got to be that strive for perfection. My old saying that I used to say I would tell my employees, but I used to tell my employees, listen, if you strive for excellence, you're going to achieve mediocrity. If you strive for perfection, you're going to achieve excellence. We'll never be perfect. You and I both agree on that. There was one perfect man touched his feet on this earth, and that's mine and your belief. But if we don't strive for perfection, we'll never get to excellence. And that's the whole key to JaKKed Baits, guys, is moving in a direction towards excellence. So I think that was very important. Let everybody know now, how many different products are we actually putting out through JaKKed Baits now?
You got me on the spot there. I hope you know the answer.
That's exactly what I wanted to do.
I hope you know the answer to this because I'm not 100% sure. I'm gonna just count to my best knowledge here. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. I'm going to say 23.
That's pretty close.
But
when I counted today, I was somewhere between 22 and 23.
Yeah. So I'd say 23 different products. Now, of
Yeah.
course, we have different sizes in each product.
Right.
But as far as the amount of products, different lines that we have, then I'm going to say 23.
And remind us all, how many years ago did you actually start what we're going to call JaKKed Baits? Not when you were doing it just for yourself, but when you finally decided, okay, I'm going to brand it and I'm going to call it JaKKed Baits.
I'm going to say in 2013, so 4 years ago, roughly.
Yeah. So see, guys, you can tell JaKKed Baits has evolved from basically, would you say, what was the first bait? Was it a skipping? Was it a skipping jig?
No, it was
It was
not.
a shaky
Kevin.
head, wasn't it?
It was a shaky head.
Yeah.
As ironic as that is, it was a shaky head. And the ironicness behind that is I'm not much of a shaky head fisherman anymore.
I know you're not.
But that was our first product. It was a football stand-up shaky head, much like the 413 shaker that we have today. A little bit different paint, a little bit different setup, but it was definitely the shaky head.
For everybody that's watching and listening to us tonight, the shaky head's one of my favorite techniques, and so I get crap about it from Tom, just so everybody knows. Okay, it as well as another technique, and I knew that, and that's why I brought it up, because I wanted you to have to admit that the first product was shaky head. But honestly, 4 years, guys, and this company's evolved from a shaky head to approximately 22 to 23 products. And those products really range across a big spectrum. Okay, so we're talking about terminal tackle. We're talking about shaky head, swim baits, underspins. Tom, help me out. Ned rigs, sled heads. Then we got all the different jigs. So you've got what I call our all-terrain jig, which is the dock rock, a skipping jig. A lot of you that don't know what a dock rock is, it's an arky head style jig. We have the regular finesse jig. We have the football jig. Then we also do it's a football jig, but it's called a swinger. So, and we will put a skirt on it if you want it, or sell it just as a swinger head. Then we have the KP Power Finesse jig, which is the first branded jig by an elite pro. You want to tell just a little bit of how that evolved, Tom? Because if you look right behind Tom, our banner there, that is the banner we use at our shows for that KP Finesse jig.
Most of our shows, when I remember to bring it.
Yeah, most of the shows.
So guys, it's probably been almost 2.5 years now. I got in contact with Keith Poche through a friend of mine, and he basically told me, we talked about, sponsorship. That's kind of where it started as usual. But, we weren't in a position by any means, any more so than we are now, but in a position to hand out a cash sponsorship, even to a guy of the stature of Keith Poche. And so as we were talking, I was able to get him a bait that he had been searching for several years. Unbeknownst to me, Keith is a serious jig fisherman, and more seriously than that, he is a finesse jig fisherman. And when I say finesse jig fisherman, I mean small profile. I'm not talking small wire small wire hook. I'm talking small jig, okay? And I was making him a jig for a couple years that wasn't even on the market, as far as with JaKKed Baits. And I was just using a similar head that we had, putting the right hook in it for him, and getting him a jig. And basically it kind of evolved. Every year I kind of talked to him more and more. And then we got to a point where the rubber was meeting the road, and we needed to get him something in his hand that was going to be the top-notch product that he had always been looking for. A jig that's made for a finesse situation, a jig that is made using a heavy hook as well as a heavy weed guard, as well as putting a flat spot on the bottom so that you can skip and let this jig stand up on the bottom. And he was all for it. And so we basically got with him, He walked us through the design of what he wanted. We added a few tweaks to it, made it the way he wanted it, and he's told everyone that he's talked to that we even took it well beyond what his concept was for this jig. So just this past November, we released our KP Power Finesse jig, and like I said, it is a heavy wire hook, but it is a small profile jig, so that you can fish behind the guy and be able to catch those fish that he's not catching because he's using a big bulky jig. Um, Putting a small critter craw or a small zoom finesse craw on there is the ticket, and just keeping that profile real small and compact. And now Keith is fishing that on the Elite Series. He's fished it on MLF. He's won a couple tournaments already where that was a key bait for him. And, there's another episode that's going to air in April. Make sure you guys are watching that one. I don't know the outcome of it yet, but I know that jig, is in his hand all the time. So if he happened to do well, I likely he'll have a jig in his hand. So, and it's going to be that jig.
Let's also remind people too, with that packaging, if you'll hold that back up again, Tom,
Yes, sir.
for all of you that are watching this evening, if you'll slide it over, we also, proceeds from the sale of our KP Power Finesse jig go to the Dylan Kyle Poche Foundation. And this foundation was set up by the Poche family, not specifically by Keith Poche himself, but it was for Dylan Kyle, who was actually the nephew of Keith Poche. And Dylan was tragically, in all intents and purposes, he was tragically murdered at the site of a fishing tournament. He was a very, very good fisherman for his age. Tom, how old was Dylan at this time? 17, 18 years old, probably.
Yep, that's right.
So I think he was in the process. He may have already had scholarship offers in college to fish. He was an exceptionally good young man. I've actually gotten a chance to get to know his father a little bit, Bert Poche. They're an excellent, just the finest family you could ever meet, guys. So they didn't want Dylan's legacy to be lost. So they set up this foundation. And Tom, do you know exactly what they're doing with the proceeds of the foundation?
Yeah. So as Kevin said, they're he had sponsorships or scholarships, not sponsorships, lined up for fishing. And basically what they're doing with this money that they're raising through this foundation, they have a fishing tournament every year. What they're doing with the money is giving it to other high school anglers that were in his same boat and in his shoes to go to college and be able to compete and kind of live out his dream through them. So it's a very humbling experience I've been a part of. It was something that we felt very passionate about from day one here at JaKKed. But then when we got involved with Keith Poche, it made total sense for us to help out the cause the best we can through this donation to the foundation for Dylan Kyle Poche. So
now, one other thing about this product, guys, for those of you that are not on my pro team, pro staff team, so forth, associated with JaKKed Baits, if you buy the Keith Poche or the KP Power Finesse jig, when you open the product, there's actually a flap there where if Tom, if you show them that flap on the front, if they take that flap there and you open it up, there's actually a coupon underneath there, guys, that will allow you 25% off a JaKKed lid, very similar to the hat that Tom's got on tonight. We have various colors and styles, so forth, but you can use that on a future purchase and get 25% off of a JaKKed lid. So I wanted to remind everyone of that as well. It's a great cause. It's a great jig. I know personally because the first weekend after we released it, I actually took it out on my local lake here and had the best day I had ever had on one of my favorite lakes, which is Lake Hickory, and had almost a 19-pound bag on my five best fish. They're just awesome jigs, guys. They really are. We actually took, when we were in Lebanon, Tennessee this past weekend right outside of Nashville. Tom and the guys put, I guess I would say I call it the Andy Newcomb trailer. It's what others refer to Zoom critter crawl. I think it was a little critter crawl, was it, Tom?
That's right.
Put a little critter crawl on that, and we had a tank set up, guys. And we put the jig on, on some line, put it into the, and Tom was flipping it around with his, and we'll plug our sponsor, Tom, 6 Gill Fishing rod and reel. And guys, you ought to see the action on this jig on the bottom. I mean, you talk about looking like a real, when you put that critter crawl in there, and how it looks like a real crawdad in a defense position when it feels threatened. That's exactly what this jig does, the way it sets up. It almost reminds me of the way it sits, Tom. It reminds me of a shaky head, how it sits. But obviously then you got the action of the skirt like a jig, and then you put that crawl trailer on it. It really is an impressive looking jig, guys, under the water.
Appreciate
All right. Well, tell us a little bit, Tom, what's your vision for the next 2 years and then the next 10 years of JaKKed Baits, from all that we've discussed, the products that we're doing. Kind of what's your vision for us the next 2 years?
Man, if you thought the last 4 were great, look out, because we got some awesome stuff happening right now. We have a bunch of new baits in the works, design right now. I've been getting molds made, trial molds, things like that made to get pouring some of these, to get out to some of our elite pros and FLW Tour pros, to get these things tested out, as well as a bunch of our staff guys. And we're looking to be in 100% more stores within the next 2 years, and within the next 10 years about 100%. Virtually every store that we could ever be in.
You'll mention in the stores before you go any further. That was one of the questions I was going to ask you this evening. Tell the people, in what states and tackle stores are we in? So what states do we actually have our product in tackle stores?
Alabama, I can say that one right off.
Absolutely.
Tennessee, Kentucky, North Carolina, Virginia, Missouri, Arkansas, Kansas, hope I'm not, Louisiana, and I believe Texas. So I hope I'm not leaving anybody out, but I think you're
right, and that's 10. And then, guys, is it too premature or what? But we're actually working on a deal right now to have product at Tackle Warehouse as well.
That's
not
right.
finalized yet, but it's getting close, guys, extremely close. And as everyone knows, Tackle Warehouse now, Tom, correct me if I'm wrong, is probably the largest fishing and tackle-related distributor in the United States now, correct?
That's right. That's right. So we'll be
next to probably Bass Pro Shops with all their multiple stores and all. I don't know how you'd want to classify them.
As far as online tackle goes, they're number one.
Yeah.
So.
Well, what do you think? What would you think? I mean, I know I'm catching you just off the top of your head. What do you think in 10 years from now?
Man, my daughter's going to be running the business.
No, the brains of the franchise will still be running the business.
That's right. Guys, I don't, it's one of those things that's a long way off.
It is.
A 10-year is a long ways off, and I'm excited for it. Don't get me wrong. I don't know where that's going to take us in 10 years. I mean, I hope to be continuing to design baits every day and continuing to work with as many pros as we can every day to get the baits in your hands that you guys will be more successful with every day you're on the water, whether you're tournament fishing or just fun fishing out there with the kids. Get one more fish in the boat, or get one fish in the boat. And that's really our goal, is just to help people catch more fish, educate them on how to do that, and how to rig stuff up right and make it work to the best of its ability.
Okay, great. We've got another promotion that we just started in the last probably 3 weeks or so, and I wanted to ask you to explain that to our audience tonight, and that is One for the Troops. You want to explain what we're doing, One for the Troops?
Yeah, absolutely. This is something we've been trying to figure out a way to do for quite some time, honestly, and I kind of just figured it out. And I can't take full credit for that, but basically what this means is it's a promotion that we're doing and will be continuing to do. And basically we're calling it One for the Troops. So anytime you guys go on our website and purchase some jigs or purchase whatever you want to purchase, and basically all we're asking is that you throw one on there for the troops. So you just go on there, click the button that says Add One for the Troops. You pay for the pack of baits, and then we take it and distribute it into a box. And every quarter, we're going to be sending that box to different foundations. So this first one, we're going to be sending it to Memories Made Guide Service, and that is a guide up in Wisconsin that basically takes out veterans, disabled and non-disabled veterans out on the water for a day of fishing, and basically just getting that stuff into their hands and thanking them for everything that they've done for us in this country to allow us to be able to do what we want to do.
Yep, good. That's one thing, guys, if you'll notice a common theme here is that JaKKed Baits always looks to give back, guys. Okay, yes, it's a business. Okay, it's not a not-for-profit business. Okay, even though right now we're still in the growing stages. But the one thing that you'll find that Tom and Allison do is give back. Whether they're giving back to the community, which is the shirt that I'm wearing today, I would call that more of the community because that was a Missouri type foundation. One for the Troops, the Bill and Kyle Poche Foundation. I mean, it just look at the theme. Okay, there's a theme there. And that theme is that, there's a lot of people out there that love to fish. And if we as a company, and I say that because, this company I'm a part of as well, I feel like family, and I act towards JaKKed Baits on a daily basis as if I owned JaKKed Baits. And the reason I do that is because Tom allows me to do that. But it really promotes what we are all about as people. Not so much what JaKKed Baits is about, but what we as people are about giving back to others. And so that's what I want to bring forth here in that conversation is, we're not just about making money. We're also about giving back as well.
That's right.
So I commend both you and Allison about that.
Thank you. The one thing I did forget to mention, anyone that does that and adds One for the Troops, we're also going to send you this awesome JaKKed Baits I Support the Troops sticker here. You can slap on wherever you want, or just keep it, for yourself. And absolutely. So, Curtis, I see you saying, send me one of them stickers. Just jump on the website, buddy, and add One for the Troops, and we'll be happy to send those out. Those are especially for that cause. Those are not given out to anyone. The support is specifically for that, and we feel very strongly about that. Not even our team guys are going to get these for free. You got to support. You got to show your support first, and then we're going to support you back with that.
Now let's jump into the last thing that I had about our discussion tonight about JaKKed Baits as a whole. Hey, it's the face of the franchise and the brains of the franchise, guys. Introduce you to Allison Lloyd. Hey,
Hi.
boss lady, how are you?
Good. How are you, Kevin?
I'm doing well. So, Tom, we touched on one thing. We touched on it briefly, and let's touch on it just a little bit more, and that is some of the new products, all right, that we're working on. I know we're not going to necessarily, we're not going to show our hand, so to speak, as it relates to playing poker, for instance. But tell folks some of the new products that we're working on. Like, for instance, I know we could talk a little bit about this. We're working with a very, very good friend of JaKKed Baits, one of our pro staff members, Jeremy Lawyer, working on a new bait with Jeremy right now. You want to talk kind of briefly about that for a second?
Um, yeah, not much.
Not details.
Yeah. Yeah, just we're constantly working with different pros. Jeremy being one of those, of course, to find baits that they have either been tweaking with for a long time, or just to find baits that they see a need for or that are lacking out there in the market. And that's something that I truly believe in is going to be successful for anglers as well as successful for JaKKed Baits, is using the knowledge that we can gain from these pros, all the while giving back to them and their causes as well. So, alike with Keith Poche, we also have something in the works with Jeremy in the same regard. So, it's going to be one of them deals. The other thing that we're working on is a new swim jig. It's going to be a bait, guys, that you really have never seen before. And I mean that in a serious aspect. It's something that is going to kind of change. There's a big player out there in the swim jig market right now, and we're really excited about this new jig that we're working on, because I think it's going to be a big player and really show some guys, what Jack's all about, and we're going to really hammer on that one pretty good. The other thing, we're redesigning a little bit on our premier product, which is the Dock Rock, making a couple tweaks to that, jacking that thing up a little bit, and really getting after that one as well, because I know that's a good product for us, a very successful product, and probably our most successful product aside from the KP jig. But that's something that we, like I said before, truly believe in. The next thing that I will show you, because these are out now finally, is our spring lock low jack swim bait hooks. So these are available in an 1/8, a 1/4, and a 3/8, and they are a ball head style swim bait head with a keeper on it, a spring lock keeper, and like I said, they got a good long hook in them. It's a fairly light wire hook, so it's not really for your big swim baits where you really got a jack on them. But it is for the A-rig. It's for a small Kitech swim bait, for a technique that you like to do, as well as on a grub, which is another thing at Table Rock. That's a very, very popular jig, or a popular tool that guys use, especially this time of year, and was even a lot more popular before the A-rig came out. But it is a technique with that screw lock keeper. You're not going to need to glue anything on as far as this bait goes, and you will be able to just throw it with whatever soft plastic you want on that deal.
Yep.
Another thing that we come out with that a lot of you probably know, but it's our version of the Ned rig head, which is a Jackal Limit finesse head. So when it's tough out there, this is a go-to bait for a lot of guys here in the Midwest as well as around the country, where you put a small little straight tail worm on there and just fish it on the bottom nice and slow. We have a weed guard in these, as you can see there. It's just a wire weed guard, but you can always cut that out if you don't feel like you need that, for sure. Another bait that we have recently come out with is our Poppy's Marabou, and that is a marabou jig inspired by the anglers up north, using that Jackal Limit finesse head, the mushroom style head, with a good size hook in it. That's the one thing you don't find a lot of times with these marabou jigs up north even, is that they got a small little wimpy hook in them. Well, this deal has a good stout thick hook, so when you are fighting those big smallmouth, you're not going to have to worry about them pulling out of their face there. So a couple other colors we have with that is your favorite, our shad color.
Yep.
And then our chestnut brown, and then our black and purple.
Yep.
Really good colors, guys.
A lot of our guys up north have still got frozen water. That's going to be a smallmouth killer for them.
Absolutely. You'll notice this is like the finesse segment of this show tonight. I don't know why these all got in this order, but Another fairly new product to JaKKed is our sled head. This is a technique that a lot of guys call a demiki. And basically what you do with this, you put on a small fluke style bait, like the tiny fluke, zoom tiny fluke, or a demiki armor shad, shad shaped worm, things like that. But it's got a good barb keeper on it. And then basically what this bait is made to do is sit horizontal in the water like this. And you're going to use it in a lot of situations where you'd be drop shotting. Just drop this thing down on them fish and just video game fish, as they say.
Right.
But the unique thing about this bait that a lot of the other ones don't have is the sickle hook that's in it. And it is a thin wire sickle hook. But once that fish gets hooked into that notch of that sickle hook, they're pinned. And you don't have to worry about them coming off. But again, it's a thin wire hook to be used with thin diameter line. So
yeah,
that's a few new products. We also have just added with the KP jig our rattles. So you just can shove these in the rattle collar of the KP jig, and that's available as well. And then one other newish thing that maybe a lot of people don't know that we have is our jackhammer buzzbait. And basically what that deal is you put a frog, a horny toad or the like frog, screw it into this screw lock here, and then throw it anywhere you could possibly imagine, because it is a weedless application. And you're able to throw that anywhere you want. Plus, the really nice thing about this deal is it skips really, really well around boat docks, cables, things like that. So,
absolutely. Okay, that's really all I had for you tonight, Tom, as it related to learning a little bit more about JaKKed. I know we wanted to end the segment. I've got something a little fun to do with you and Allison before we end, but I think that maybe we want to look back and answer some questions. Does anybody else have any questions going forward? I know I saw one gentleman asked, hope that he sell me on the water soon. I just want to give everybody an update quick. Cast comes off tomorrow, guys. 2:00. Go to the doctor, get that cast off. So I'll be
out of here.
Yeah, exactly. That scooter can go somewhere. Just leave the house. But so 2:00 tomorrow, the cast comes off, and I'll hopefully be back on the water Friday, pre-fishing for my Saturday tournament on Lake Norman. So into that, I'm doing great. Foot's doing great, and ready to move forward. Was there any other questions that we saw on here that we need to answer?
Jeff wants a scooter.
Jeff can have my scooter. Jeff played on my scooter there in Nashville for a few minutes.
We have a smaller one of these.
But he wants one with pedals on it.
He wants one with a motor on it.
And pedals.
Yeah. Tim says sink it for new structure, make a brush pile out of it.
I would, Tim, but it's not my scooter. I have to give it back. If it were, it would be an excellent idea.
So here's a question that I seen earlier, and somebody asked, Stephen Boulard just asked, are we going to get into tungsten? We have a full line of tungsten weights from 1/8 ounce all the way to 2 ounces and everything in between. We have drop shot weights as well. Eighth, fourth, and half. See, I told you, brains.
Told you.
Got all that, and so that's the tungsten game we got. So one of the questions I seen earlier was, how did JaKKed get its name and why the 2Ks? So kind of a interesting story. I had always heard that, heard guys talking about, hey, I jacked them today. Hey, go jack them. Good luck, go jack them. Things like that. And I had posted on Twitter about a Bull Shoals tournament that I was going to, and I so happened to get tweeted back at this time from someone I did not know. but I knew of him a lot. But it was Skeet Reese, and they were going there in the next couple of weeks. And so he was like looking at different posts and whatnot. And he happened to see mine, and I said I'd give an update later. And since that was technically anything that's on Twitter is not, not sharing information and whatnot, so it's public knowledge. But he said, go jack him. And that really, for some reason, resonated with me. And I kind of just come up with the name JaKKed Baits. The reason for the 2Ks is because if I called it JaKKed Baits with CK, we wouldn't have all these fun names like Scatterbait and Jackhammer and Drunk Punch and Kate, Doc Rock, things like that. So no, but really it was brand differentiation was the biggest thing for us.
And our old name sucked.
And our old name wasn't
Hey, I was going to say that it was probably because you can't spell, and Allison's always having to proofread everything, so you spelled it JaKK and forgot to get her to proofread it for you. So it
That's
kind of
right. My phone says
stuck.
my phone thinks it's JaKKed now. So
mine does
maybe
too.
I broke the system. So
Well, mine too.
no, but really it was just more about having something that was a little different as usual. I mean, that's kind of a theme throughout JaKKed is trying to make something unique and different and make it, create a better mousetrap, as they say. So
yeah. Well, any other questions? Did you see anything else we need to answer?
Someone asked if we could tell any more about the swim jig right now, but is it too soon for that?
I think it's too early in the stages of what we're doing in the development for the swim jig now.
Yeah, Kyle, I appreciate the question. We will definitely
circle back
on that one. You guys will be the first to know probably on JaKKed Live. But I think, to say the least, Caden, you're absolutely right there, buddy. But to say the least, I'm not going to say it's going to be a game changer by any means. But it is going to shake things up a little bit. You're going to see a lot of guys that are fishing this swim jig, especially down south. Y'all are going to really like it. So,
Denman Bledsoe wants to know how I got into fishing. So I guess we can talk just a brief second about how that translated, back in the Stone Ages, as you guys seem to think. A lot of guys, so our pro team thinks that maybe I went to school and we had a one-room schoolhouse and stuff, okay? But I'm not that old. But
that's just true.
Yeah, I know. But the way I got into fishing many years ago as a young child, my stepfather took both myself and my stepbrother fishing as young kids. He had a love for the outdoors. He was a deer hunter. He was a fly fisherman. He was a bass fisherman. And as we were really, really young, one of the first places I remember, and I know Curtis Lell is still watching, here in North Carolina, there's a lake called Lake James. Sits right at the foot of the Blue Ridge Mountains with Table Rock, not your Table Rock, but our Table Rock, and the Linville Gorge overlooking the lake. Well, there's a place back in Lake James called the Firestone, and that's where I first learned to fish. Was in the Firestone fishing for brim. And just small panfish just as a child. And as I got a little bit older, I'll say somewhere probably 9 or 10 years old, my stepfather took us to what's the Linville River. And the Linville River runs into and is part of Lake James. Well, at that time, that area there on Lake James and the Linville River was a public access area. It wasn't privately owned as it is today. And that's where the white bass would come up out of the lake, up into the Linville River, and they would spawn every year. So my stepfather would take us out there, and we would take, light spinning, real light tackle, and we would go and fish for the white bass that were spawning in the mouth of the Linville River. And so that's where I really got my early days of beginning into fishing, and then that transpired into bass fishing. Then I went off to college. Kind of got away from fishing a little bit. Then I had a family, so of course, my perspective changed on life. Did not nearly as much fishing as I had when I was a young child. And then as my children started to grow, I got back into bass fishing and then finally turned that into tournament fishing, which now a number of you know, last year I competed about 50 tournaments last year alone. So, bass fishing's in my blood. It started as a young age, Denman, and it just kind of carried forward. Oh, Tom, are you drinking vodka?
No.
Unfortunately.
No? Okay. All right. Any other questions there that you saw?
I didn't.
Okay. All right, guys. Well, we're getting close to the end. We normally try to keep this to about an hour. And so I've got something fun that I want to do with our beloved JaKKed Baits owners. Okay? And we're going to have a quick fire question session, and it's 10 quick fire answers, and each of them are going to answer the question when I feed it to them. So we're going to learn a little bit about who Tom and Allison Lloyd are. Okay. They all know I may be the oldest guy in the company, but I'm also the jokester in the company, and a number of the protein people can attest to that. For instance, Micah Easterling, I really give Micah a hard time, but that's because he's a big Alabama fan and I'm a big Tennessee fan. But I like to have fun. So tonight, to no avail, we're going to have some fun with Tom and Allison Lloyd. So are you guys ready?
What were the rules again? I'm sorry.
It's going to be a simple. I'm going to give you 2 words, and you got to choose. It's either 2 words or 2 phrases, and you got to choose one or the other. Simple as that. All right. So for every,
we've been married too long for the newlywed game.
Well, so for every question I ask Tom, you'll answer first, and Allison, you'll answer second. That gives Allison a little bit more time to think than it gives you, Tom. Okay.
He probably needs more time than me, but yeah.
You're probably right. All right. So the first quick fire question is for Tom: tea or coffee?
Coffee.
Allison.
Tea.
Sushi or steak?
Sushi.
Sushi.
Thick or thin crust pizza?
Thin.
Thick.
Summer or fall fishing?
Fall. No question.
He's gone more in fall, so I'm going to go fall.
All right, here you go.
Summer's too hot.
Okay, I figured you would be a summer kind of person.
Yeah, but I don't know. You gotta clarify that one.
No,
between
just fall. Go on.
Night fishing or daytime
Go
fishing.
on.
No.
Fall fishing.
Okay. Fitted or snapback hats?
Snapback because of a ponytail.
There you go. All right, here we go, Tom. Finesse or power fishing? He's the power guy.
It's
Power finesse. I like to fish a finesse bait fast.
Let's put it this way, guys. The KP Power Finesse jig may have the word finesse in it, and that's because of the size, but there's nothing finesse about it other than the size. You can jack it, okay? Allison, I know you fish some, so does it matter to you, finesse or power?
No.
Okay.
No. I just fish what he tells me to.
Allison, you get to answer this, and I already know your answer, but this is just so you can have a good laugh. Country boy or city slicker?
Well, my heart's in a country boy by nature, but I married a city slicker, so.
Answer, Tom. What do you think you are, buddy?
I was born in the city, but raised in the country.
Nah, you were a city slicker. All right, here we go. Fluorocarbon or braid?
Braid.
2 application based.
For Lake of the Ozarks.
Fluorocarbon.
Okay.
I don't know what Mike is laughing at, but he's laughing at you probably.
Yeah, probably.
Here we go. Text message or telephone call?
Text message.
I'll call you.
You and I only talk, what, 6 or 8 times a day?
Roughly.
Roughly. All right, last question. This one's going to put you on the spot. Bass Elite Series or FLW Tour Series?
Easy.
Bass.
Bass?
I'll say it because I'm not contractually obligated to either one.
No, it's nothing to do with. I love those guys at FLW and a lot of those guys over there. But from a pure angler perspective, Bass just has the marketing down.
Oh, yeah.
And as we all know, the marketing's where it's at. And therefore, those guys get a lot more exposure. I enjoy watching it more because I know, 90% of the guys either on a personal level or just know of them because I'm a fan of the sport. When you got FLW, you got 250 guys, and you probably only know 20% of them, when they're walking across the stage. And, so that's part of it, but, it's just one of them things where I like the way that things set up better on Bass. And who doesn't love Dave Mercer and Zona and Tommy Sanders and Tripp? I mean, come on. So.
Yep. I figured that's what you would say, and I'll just make sure that Jeremy Lawyer doesn't hold it against you. Okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
He already knows.
He already knows.
I know he does. We're just giving you a hard time.
You
Listen,
didn't say what anglers do I like better.
I'm not going there because we have too many of those on our staff, and I'm not going there because then you'll make me answer, and I'm not going there. So, but that's all I've got tonight, guys. Hopefully, everyone learned a little bit more about what JaKKed Baits is. Now you've got a face with the franchise. Well, you've got a pretty face with the franchise, and you got Tom Lloyd with the franchise. What's that?
Jeff said he was mad.
What's he mad about?
He was mad because I said Bass Elite instead of FLW.
That's why I did not ask you about.
We like you best. We like you best, Jeff.
Oh gosh, I knew that it would get the pot stirred because you got your true FLW guys and your true Bass guys. A lot of times they don't cross over. It's kind of like many years ago when you had the Indy Racing League, and then you had the other, and they split apart. Yeah. It was one or the other, but not both. The beard of the franchise.
Jeff, I wasn't aware that you were fishing the FLW Tour this year.
Oh, no. Tom, don't go there.
Awkward.
Oh, I'm good.
Hey, I hear crickets. Uh-oh.
Ouch.
Quiet.
Caden's like, ow.
Hey, by the way, guys, Caden Sinclair, the gentleman who just mentioned, just want to briefly mention this, one of the biggest hammers in college fishing today from the state of Alabama. Actually goes to Alabama, so I want to give him some kudos for his season as well. Jeff, we love you. We love you. And then,
yes, sir.
But anyway, I want to thank you guys for giving me the opportunity to not only work with JaKKed. It's been a year now that we've been together, and this company's family to me. I love both of you to death, and we've got some really good things planned for JaKKed. We're doing a lot of hard work. Tom and Allison guys are putting forth a lot of energy, a lot of money, a lot of time. I really believe that JaKKed has got a lot of big things for itself in the future, and I'm looking forward to being a part of it and seeing it. So I thank both of you as well. Thank you for letting me host the show tonight. I guess next week we'll get back to some, you won't have to look at me, and you guys will get to look at one of the bigger time pros. Do what?
Back
and I'll be in bed.
Back to your regularly scheduled program.
There you go. But anyway, I get to do it tonight to end the show. All right? So don't just hook them.
Jack them. See you.
Bye, guys.